Peace, prosperity, salutations. You're rocking with Brother John, Yarima Karama. We back. We
Yeah, my
back.
brother, we
Real
back.
life, real talk.
It's been a minute, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. And life is life, and and
Yeah,
yeah, we just taking these blows as they as they come.
I tell you, man, and a lot of the stuff that we used to talk about is like happening, bro. It's
Yeah.
happening in real time.
Well, it's interesting because I did a post, I think it was a couple weeks back, and brother was like, "Man, when is you and Brother John coming? We need to hear from you all." So it might be a good time to you know, just reiterate what we reiterated years ago.
Yeah, I think I seen that, man. The dude said, Brother John's chat GPT sounded like Brother John.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
I mean, we
maybe
we
we
won't
can.
we won't predict in the future, man. When you know the playbook, it ain't hard to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not real. Their playbook doesn't change.
Mm-mm.
So they amp it up here and there with the level of distractions and things to get people off their game, but their playbook doesn't change. So we know that.
It's just like a chef, man. They change the recipe up a little bit here and there, keep tweaking it till they get it just right.
Yep, exactly. So there's a lot of things going on that's really not, um, these distractions. They they've been plentiful. They've been
Yeah.
amping up the level of distractions, trying to keep people, and they know that people are going to go right to social media with it, and your timeline will be flooded with these same stories, and it's like, haven't we learned yet?
No, we haven't, man. The masses we have not learned yet. We've still fallen for the okie doke. The strategy of tension. You notice how many stories are going. Where's Diddy at? Has
Yeah,
anybody said anything about Diddy lately?
no, no, because
Where's the Epstein papers at? Where's the
right,
JFK stuff at? Have we
yeah.
heard? They just we just moved from issue to issue, and what about the drones that were all over the place and nobody knew where they was coming from? I got a little tiny drone
Yeah.
and I got to register it to fly. So we got these big automobile-sized drones in the air and nobody knows where they were. I heard somebody say that they were trying to get Project Bluebeam going,
Hmm.
but it something went wrong. But just I mean, all stories like that. It's all of a sudden it's there and then it's gone.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right, John. It's they pass these stories on and then they get until they come up with the next big thing. So you had Diddy. Now what is it? The Shannon Sharp episode. And then you had now they got this thing with Kanye coming out. So people are in something about that. So it's
Celebrity worship, man.
yeah,
That's why they don't call them stars for nothing. Think about it. The
right.
stars and chasing the stars and oh man, yeah, it's I tell you, bro. So right now what we got going on? We got the terrorists.
Yes.
Trump's he's going to take China. He's going to take China out. But when I was listening to this guy talking, he said, China has been around for 5,000 years, and most of that time the United States wasn't there.
Yeah.
So they're not worried about this little. This is a hiccup in the road for them or whatever. When you start thinking of these civilizations that have existed like Iran, Persia, they were there almost at the dawn of time, man, with the um Sumerians,
Yes.
and Damascus and Syria. I mean, these go back biblical
Hmm.
date and times if you want to. And so here we are, this little upstart, little got our comeuppance, and now we think we are, top of the top dog. But top
Exactly.
dog don't stay top dog forever.
Exactly. And they might be signaling that they might and we talked about this before too, John, when sometimes when the reins of power are passed, the people are the last to know about it. And
Hmm.
so they might be signaling for the reins of power to be passed to China. Um, and you're absolutely right. China. So the thing we know about China is Africa, I think, had so many different dynasties
Yeah.
They had like 26, 30, 50, 100 different dynasties. China had a dynasty already.
Hmm.
So they had a dynasty. China's been doing trade with the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
this
mean,
isn't their first, it isn't like they just came out of a cocoon all of a sudden and just started. They've been doing this. They're well adept at it.
yeah, they had for they had what they call a century of shame, I think it is, when the British tried to get the whole nation hooked on opium and the
Yeah.
opium wars, and they were subjugated through the use of drugs, and they called that the century of shame. So, and in between that, like I said, China has been. They've like you said, they've been a major player on the world scene for, they used to fly around, not fly around, sail around the world to get spices from China and silk.
Yeah.
And so that they were spending all of their silver in China, and the British were like, we got to get some of that silver back. So they started importing the opium. And there came the opium wars. And so, when you study history or even know a little bit of history about that, you know that China is they have a different mindset over there, man. They're not this little quick microwave thing. They'll play the long game.
Yeah. And they do. I just recently saw something on China where they were basically they were banning um I want to say they were banning these transgender things on transgender issues and people on television.
Hmm.
And then they even went in to show that all of their television programming, and it's programming because that's what the television is.
Yeah.
If you don't know that, then I mean, you definitely got a lot of work to do to even be on this podcast. But um, they were basically talking about how all of their television programming is geared towards Chinese confidence and instilling the morals and values. Like they're not putting demoralizing things on
Right,
Chinese
right.
television to
Yeah.
their people. Everything is to build them up and talk about how great they are. And I remember when they shut their borders down for what, 25, 30 years, that's what they were doing.
Hmm.
They said they were constantly feeding the minds of their people. And that was after the Opium Wars, where they had to shut everybody out. And I think Mao Zedong was on some, look, you got a year to get your stuff together.
Yeah.
And after that year, we got a place for you if you can't. And so clean the country up. And they were just pushing a propaganda campaign over there of how great China is. And when they opened their borders back up, I mean, they were a world power. The UN was asking them to sit on the Security Council.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
there's a history there.
you remember we talked about how the IMF was already opening up offices in China. They
Yeah,
started, and the Trump, his kids are learning Cantonese or learning Chinese.
yeah,
Why they I think there was some event they were at. They sang the whole song in Chinese, so they know what's going on. It's cyclical, man. And when you study the life cycle of empires, if you look at where the United States is right now, we are at almost at the end of that cycle. And they say the last act of a dying empire is to pillage the people,
yeah,
and that's what they're doing. All of these people that voted for Trump, that thought he was going to be the greatest thing ever,
yeah,
his policies are hurting them too.
yeah.
They are. It's not a, and I think, man, I think they put him in there to oversee the crash. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion, but the way he's doing everything, if you wanted to crash it, you'd be doing the stuff that he's doing.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, John. And I think that um, he himself becomes a distraction being in there.
Oh,
So
for sure.
it's not only to oversee the crash, but oh, you got an ex-felon. How does he get to be president? So you got that distraction. Then you got the people who are on the other side saying, "Oh man, he's doing great,"
He
and
walks on
they're
water.
yeah, but they're actually looking at their wallet saying, is he really doing great? But they're keeping their mouths shut because they don't want to look like they, got their foot in their mouth. And then, you got a conglomerate of different groups that are vying, creates that division, keeps
Mm,
that division going. Then not to mention the white racism that goes along with that. So there's so many divisions on so many different levels.
yeah, man.
And then he just comes in with the dictator style approach of
Yeah.
there's
You,
there's things he's trying to do as president. It's like, wait a minute, that's not even your office. You're an executive branch of the president. The president covers the executive branch. What are you doing?
but see, he invoked that emergency whatever order to do the tariffs. You know,
Mhm.
the trade imbalance has been going on for like 39 years. Now all of a sudden it's an emergency.
Yeah,
So he invokes the tariffs using instead of going through the proper process of like going. 'Cause Congress is the only body of that can legislate taxes,
yeah,
and he got around that by using the emergency act, and now they're snatching people off the street. You or me or anybody, you say the wrong thing about this certain little class of people, and they coming after you. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's definitely all of the stuff that they thought that Obama was going to do or Biden was going to do, or as far as getting rid of the First Amendment, and he's doing it. It's happening.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna be a proponent of beefing Biden and Obama up either,
No,
because they both had their thing. Obama was definitely the give rights to the give rights to the transgenders and LGBTQ community.
oh
That was his
yeah,
whole purpose. Biden, his whole purpose was basically to keep his damn son out of jail, the crackhead that he was.
yeah,
And so, I mean, all of them are in bed together.
yeah.
And
They
until we
hand
as the people realize that, I mean,
they hand the ball off like when Obama signed the NDAA, which he said I'm not going to use this. And I was like, well, you're not going to be president forever. So you
yeah,
set that up for the next, and then so,
exactly. By the
but
by the way, speaking of Obama, there's talk of him and Michelle potentially breaking up. So
I seen the rumors of that, but they kind of glossed over that his cook that was found dead in like 3 feet of water,
yes,
naked, and
yes,
he supposedly drowned, and he was an expert swimmer, and that kind of just got swept under the rug.
yeah,
So yeah, man, they if you're in the club, you can get away with that.
yeah,
And it's a big
exactly.
club, and we ain't in it.
No, we're not, and and poor Kanye, he was in it and immediately got excommunicated from it.
Well, they have a way of reminding you that you black.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
get up a certain and speaking of that, if we want to move over to the motherland, we've got what's his name? Ibrahim Traore, I believe they pronounce it that way.
Yes, yes,
He's trying to do the same thing that Gaddafi was doing. He's getting rid of these colonizers.
yep,
He's like, we can mine our own gold. We can do it. And now they got AFRICOM coming after him. I just saw something this morning where they want to arrest him. I don't know what the charge was going to be, but he's looking out for. And it was funny. This lady that was talking about it said these bomber clot other African presidents don't want to do what he's doing, but he kicked the French out.
yeah,
And I didn't know that, man. But France gets most of their like uranium that they use for energy for nuclear energy. They get that from Africa,
yeah,
and people in Africa have no lights, or random lighting or random lights or whatever, and they're taking all their stuff.
yeah,
So he's kicking them out, and so keep an eye out on him because they're going to come up with some story that he's killing his own people or he's supporting terrorists. And we've supported that whole thing in Syria that just went down, where now they've got a former Al Qaeda leader. They put him in charge of Syria. He can't make it up, man.
wow. Well, with the thing with Burkina Faso and that president, um, if my thing is if they're able to arrest him, that's a problem because if Africa hasn't realized the colonialization that it's been up under and hasn't realized that it's a new day and
Hmm.
that they can actually take control of their destiny right now, if they allow that brother to get arrested, and it's unfortunate, it's really unfortunate, but I was looking at some commentations like this was months ago, where he was basically they were saying that he has to watch out for his own people. Like
Yeah,
there's really only like three other presidents that he potentially could trust in, and you kind of see them together periodically. But he was like, he can't trust anybody else in that country.
they've
That's
tried, they've
shameful.
tried, they've tried to assassinate him 19 times.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons too, that's one of the reasons when Gaddafi was alive, that's one of the reasons he had female soldiers around him because he
Hmm.
couldn't trust the men. Yeah,
Hmm.
people always thought Gaddafi was on this, oh, he just likes having women around him. No, they could be trusted. That's why he had them there, because he had had so many attempts on his life as
Right.
well.
And
And it took Obama to get him.
yeah, yeah, a black man. Yeah, don't get me started on that. But I was just
Right.
thinking, man, they remember they declared Putin a war criminal. And
Yes.
the ICC, everybody, oh, we arrest him, arrest him. Then they declared Netanyahu a war criminal.
Yeah.
And then they start, oh, the ICC, the International Court of Justice, is a sham. That's all this and that and the other thing. The hypocrisy that these people, I can't even hardly watch the news anymore, man. I was watching this lady. She used to work at Fox, and they were talking about the health emergency health workers that I guess the Israeli Defense Forces shot them, blew them, killed them all, and buried their Jeep in the sand.
Mm.
And she was, making, well, everything that's happened is because of Hamas. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, Netanyahu financed them. He was giving money to Hamas to keep the other party, keep them divided. And
Mhm.
I don't know how these people sleep at night. I mean, they just get up. It's amazing that they can just stand there and just bald faced lie, and and deny the things that are happening that we can see. Don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's they've been lying for so many years. I think they sleep pretty good at night, especially with the fact that they're not going to be challenged. At
No,
least
no,
they
no.
haven't. It's interesting though. Klaus Schwab from the World
He just
Economic
stepped
Forum just stepped
down.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting how that happened. So I'm curious to see who's going to take his place because he basically groomed quite a few people
Yeah.
in his tenure as being a tyrannical narcissist on this planet that he is. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds and who takes his spot.
Hmm. Yeah. And um, I guess it depends on who has the gold. Because, you know, if you've been paying attention, man, gold was up $100 the other day. It's over $3,000 an ounce now.
Hmm.
Last checked, and a couple of weeks ago there was something going on in Europe where they were trying to get gold out of there, and normally it was like a 2 week or some reasonable amount of turnaround, but now it's like 8 weeks before
Mm.
they can remove the gold and to get it. A lot of gold has been coming back to the United States,
Mm.
and a lot of the central banks are buying gold because I think back in a few years ago they made gold a tier one asset, which means it's on the same level as the dollar and U.S. Treasury bonds as far as securable asset goes. So
Hmm.
something's going on with the financial world, man. And like I say, I think this all this action with the tariffs and whatnot plays right into it.
Yeah. Well, I think we're about to definitely have a change in how business is conducted financially.
Yeah, another
Um,
reset.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know that. I don't know. You are more adept on this subject than John, but I don't see the dollar lasting. I don't see it being able to withstand this storm that's coming because the change is necessary. And what that new system looks like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've talked to some people and they're like, bet it on Bitcoin, bet it on that decentralized unit, bet it on crypto. And I'm just like, I don't know because even that, you don't know who's running that. That could be a psyop itself. So
Well, I've been looking into it, man, and it's fishy. I'll just put it like that.
yeah,
But like I say, the one thing you can trust is gold. I mean, gold has been money for 5,000 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's nobody's counterparty risk. If I've got gold, nobody else. I don't own anybody. No one else has a claim to it if I've got it in my hand.
Hmm.
And like I said, right now, price of gold is at $3,348 an ounce. It's up $52 today.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, when I first started paying attention to gold, it was like $1,100.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah, the financial and a lot of the stuff, this stuff they're trying to blame on China. There was a video this Chinese guy put out, and he was saying, the terrorists, you don't need new terrorists, you need a revolution. He said, because
Hmm.
your oligarchs have taken your money and spent it on wars and this, that, and the other thing, and what do you have? High prices and uh, you know healthcare crisis that you can't handle. And basically, everything he said, I might add that add pull that clip and add it in here. But basically, everything he said was true.
Mm.
They hollowed out the middle class so they could make more money by sending their manufacturing to China. And China didn't make them do that. The industrialists in this country did.
Exactly.
Moved all the jobs that used to happen here in the United States. All that went to China and other, so they could make cheaper products over there and sell them for more money over here.
Yep.
So it's and it's coming back to bite us. And China owns the largest amount of U.S. debt in its treasuries and whatnot. So how are you going to fight somebody or claim to go to war with that you owe a lot of money to? It,
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
it doesn't make sense, man. So China has been slowly getting rid of their U.S. treasuries too. So
Well, I mean, and you're not going to go in there with guns blazing because they got them too. So,
yeah,
I mean, oh wow.
yes, and the whole Ukraine war, that war could have been avoided. And then you hear Trump, oh, I'll be in here. That war will be over on day one in 24 hours. And he's continued to
Yeah.
send weapons over there, just like Biden did. He's still
Yep.
sending. The war would be over, if they stopped sending them weapons. But he's still sending money and weapons, and a lot of that money is just
Mm.
going back to the military-industrial complex. And I've even heard people say that some of those weapons are turning up on the black market.
Mm. Yeah, I
So
wouldn't doubt it.
so
I
yeah,
wouldn't doubt it.
it's nothing but a money scam. And then the rebels that they call the Houthis, who seem to be the only stand-up uh, Arabs in the region defending the what's going on in Palestine. They are attacking ships that are coming through the Suez, I think the Suez Canal.
Hmm.
But we're spending like billions of dollars to shoot down their $5 or $5,000 drones. We're sending Tomahawk missiles of $1 million a pop,
Right.
and
Right.
got huge what are those battleships parked out in the ocean that are just cost millions to even operate those things, man. So
Yeah.
and we got the Federal Reserve printing money,
Yeah.
and and we're $36 trillion in debt, and it's something's going to break here soon. I don't know. We've been saying that it was going to break. I remember when I first started paying attention 10 years ago
Right. Right. Right.
or
Right.
longer, it was on the way down, but it's taken longer than we could imagine, but it's going to happen sooner or later.
Well, I heard some. I saw a TikTok video the other day, and it was basically it was saying that these all the government employees they get these credit cards and stuff, and basically us the taxpayers were paying for their lunches, their dinners. They get this money put on their credit cards. Said Trump took them
Hmm.
and said so they filed and they found a judge, and the judge said, "Yeah, that's something you can't just take their credit card. You can't take their cards like that." Said Trump gave them back with $1 on them, put the $1 credits.
Well,
And
you know,
so somebody that was telling the story was like, "Yeah, because we shouldn't have to foot the bill for their lunch.
heck
Like
no.
we got to pay for our own lunch, and we're going to foot us, the taxpayer." But that's the type of unnecessary spending, the
Mhm.
greed, and that those type of things need to be exposed because I think of more people. Wait a minute. First of all, I don't like your policy, but I'm paying for your lunch or your dinner too.
Yeah.
Like, no, come on.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of things I don't agree with Trump on, but that cleaning up some of the corruption and the wasted money, I mean, I don't care who was doing it. If you're doing it, I can get down with that. Because they,
Hmm.
you know, like you just said, we're paying for their luxury stuff. You know, we can't go out and get a free meal
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
charge it to the to Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, they get all these perks, man. They get, you know, and it's yeah, they Nancy Pelosi, like she must be the greatest stock trader in the world. You know, these jokers come in here making you know, 175,000 or something, whatever they make a year, and leave out multimillionaires.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And yeah, exactly. Exactly.
yeah, and
Um,
it happens on both sides. You know, they're all doing it.
yeah.
You know,
I think FEMA, they when they went to the thing in Hawaii, they were staying in the best hotels, like
oh
the
yeah,
most expensive, while the people then lost their homes. You know, and you're
and
staying
even
in these five-star hotels.
and
Like,
In North Carolina when that thing happened, they took up all the hotels. There was no people, there was no place for people to move into because FEMA came in there and had all
yeah,
the, you know, we're taking up the available hotel space. So,
yeah.
you
Well, if
know,
there's
this,
any group that's disbanded, I hope he disbands them because that's a waste of taxpayer dollars for sure.
yeah, man, I remember when I was in the army, uh, when the first Cuban refugee thing happened and they started sending everybody, remember that
Yeah,
opening scene from Scarface?
yeah, 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 exactly.
We were right there, man. That we were at I think was I forget the name of that place, but yeah, we and then they had us. We were living in hotels, man. Living, they were yeah, just so it was crazy, man. But it was just like that, you know.
Yeah.
They had us up in these hotels. They had the whole Orange Bowl uh, fitted out
Mm,
and just you know money just
yeah,
going like crazy, man.
yeah, yeah. Well, like you said, it's the end of it's coming down to the end of an era. And now they are starting, we clearly see they are pillaging the people.
Yeah.
They're pillaging the people and the people don't have a clue. They
And
act
you
like they don't have a clue. I'm just like, you can't see your pockets being pillaged right now. I can definitely feel the crunch. So, but I mean, we're gonna be back on our regularly scheduled program, I think, starting here. So there will be more detailed talk of events that are occurring and events that we prophetically see coming, that you should prophetically see coming. That's really not prophecy at all. It's just basically opening our eyes and seeing the forest for the trees. So,
hmm.
yeah, so another segment of Real Life, Real Talk. You've been rocking with Brother John, myself, Yarima Karama. Stay tapped in, hit that like button, and make sure that you contribute. You know, show love by sending a few dollars. You know, so that we can keep this program and keep things going and keep giving you guys the information that you so deserve. So we thank you for tuning back in. And thank you for giving us your ear and also share this content because there might be somebody that needs to hear this. Peace, love, light. We're out.